Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast, and welcome to the review show when we look back at everything that's happened last week in boxing, including the fights over the weekend. This weekend, that was William Zepeda versus Tevin Farmer, the rematch, Mikaela Mayer versus Sandy Ryan, the rematch, Pat Brown's debut, and lots of, to be honest, too much almost, great boxing. I think the best place to start is Will Zepeda Farmer, because that was another barnstormer of a fight. I thought a really, really top fight.
Well, we thought they delivered first time round in Saudi Arabia, but yeah, Saturday night in Cancun, Mexico, the atmosphere was brilliant. I don't know if it came across on the television, but as soon as I switched on the main event, you couldn't even hear the commentators. It was so loud, and yeah, the fight for me was... It was really good. I thought Tevin Farmer, he came and...
Was it a better fight?
Thought it was a better... That's what I'm trying to say. I thought it was a better fight because Farmer made it very competitive all throughout the fight. He made Zepeda sometimes go back on himself, go back on his back foot, which normally he doesn't really do a lot of. You know, he's a front foot fighter, someone we know is his favourite fighter. We won't say his name, obviously, but no, it was a great performance, and I can see, you know, the understanding of the judges' scorecards. I think one of them gave it a draw. You know, I don't think it was that, but I thought it was very, very close. It was a sort of fight where it was 116, 114 sort of type. It was very close, and I know it's a bit weird because this weekend was a weekend of rematches, and obviously we had Mayer and Sandy Ryan as well. But the two fights that we've had on Saturday night, I want to see them again in the trilogy because they were that good.
I think, do you know what, I thought it was a more competitive fight, but I didn't actually think it was a closer fight. I thought Will Zepeda had it a little bit more in this one. I was more confident he would get the result in this one. I thought it could go the other way last time, but I thought, yeah, he's got this time. But like you say, it was another great fight, and they won't run it back. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to. But I wouldn't complain if they had.
No,
I really wouldn't complain if Will Zepeda went, yeah, let's do it again.
But you know it was a decent fight and a decent performance when you've got Ben Thomas the following morning messaging in the group chat, SHAKUR Stevenson next. Yeah. So I think that's a logical set for him, maybe. Or do you reckon he can wait it out a little bit, see what SHAKUR's going to do, because he's got names. He's meant to be fighting Gervonta Davis sometime this year. You know, there's other names in that division that are quite appetising for me. You know, and they're the two names that would get him, one, the money fight. That's probably what he wants. But two, he just wants a sort of fight that can get his name recognised more on the global stage. And the boxing fans know who William Zepeda is, but now it's time for everyone to know about him in the entire fight scene. Yeah,
absolutely. I think because Tank Davis is obviously still tied up with Lamont Roach, I wouldn't mind...
A little bit tied up.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I wouldn't mind SHAKUR Stevenson, William Zepeda, for sort of SHAKUR Stevenson as a sort of, I'll have this fight, and then I'll take Tank Davis, which by no means is a gimme. I think SHAKUR's too good. He'd be able to pick off Zepeda, and I don't think style-wise it makes sense for Zepeda, that fight. But it would be a good fight.
It would be.
To watch. So yeah, why not run that back next? And he's earned himself an opportunity, hasn't he? He really has. He's 33-0 now. He's a top lightweight, and he's ready to have that world title shot. And he might not win it, but I think he'll come again. And he's just, with that style, he's always going to be in the fight. There's never going to be a sense of like, it's just going to be a one-sided fight. He's never going to... Because he's just constant. It's relentless. You know, I think it was 42 punches to 5 in the second round. So 42 for Zepeda, 5 for Tevin Farmer in the second round of that fight. That is mental.
And I think that's why he's very likeable, ain't he? Because he's just continuous. He puts pressure on you continuously throughout the fight. There's no... Even in this fight, I did think, though, he was taking a step back, thinking, all right, what's Farmer going to do here? But there was a point in the fight as well where both his gloves touched the canvas, if I remember. I don't know if you recall it, but a lot of the commentators shouted, "Ooh, knockdown!" You know.
Yeah, but then there was one where Farmer went down not long after a punch.
Yeah,
and it sort of didn't. It wasn't necessarily exactly like punch goes down. The kind of punch fell on and went down. So I sort of think you just kind of, if one of those had been given as a knockdown and one hadn't, either way, I think it would have been felt unfair. But the fact neither of them were knocked down, you can kind of go, yeah, I think it was a fair decision. I think Zepeda on the balance of it won. Yeah. Not by a million miles. It's a very competitive fight. But he did.
It's the same with Tevin Farmer now. We talk about fighters who lose. At this level, you can come back from that, and especially after that performance, that's not the end of him.
35 though, do you think?
I reckon he's got a couple more years in him.
It's hard, you've got to feel hard done by though, because he's put in 2 really great performances.
Yeah.
And like when you on balance, he's the kind of fighter you'd look at on BoxRec if you hadn't watched him fight and you think, this guy's not great. 8 losses, I think it is, or whatever.
Correct.
But he's almost tougher than you'd expect for how skillful he is. So you wouldn't say, he's a skillful fighter, because he was so tough in that fight, took an absolute beating at points. But also he's too skillful to say, he's just a real tough kind of...
Yeah.
He's got a real good balance between those two, and that's why I don't think he suits Zepeda at all, because he's too skillful for the pressure to be constantly a problem, and he's too tough for that pressure to constantly be a problem. And someone a little less tough, you could break down.
Do you reckon for him now, him and Sam Noakes, you reckon Sam Noakes would want a little bit of Farmer?
I want to see Sam Noakes versus William Zepeda,
Yeah.
not because it makes any sense for either party.
But
There's no
if he
world
can get a
title.
win though over Tevin Farmer, that just catapults him straight into those names of SHAKUR, Stevenson, Zepeda, Davis.
It would, yeah. But I think the way that Farmer caused Zepeda some problems,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Sam Noakes would have the same problem. I just don't think it makes sense style-wise. That's not necessarily the fight I think would make complete sense. I don't know, though. There's so many great fights to be made at lightweight. It's a great
Even
division.
Andy Cruz, you can give him...
Andy Cruz, you've got Vasyl Lomachenko still out injured with the IBF.
Yeah.
Giving him a pass on that, so that will come round soon. You've got
Herrera.
Keyshawn Davis, Javier Herrera, and then obviously Tank and SHAKUR, which kind of get put on this extra pedestal just below Lamont Roach, obviously. It's such a great division and such an exciting thing, and I love Zepeda. He's one of the... I think everyone's got fighters that they can't really say why. Like, there's no reason why a Mexican lightweight should be like, I just do. Mm-hmm. I just really like him.
You haven't got any affiliation to him, have you? You just like the way he fights.
Yeah,
don't
I
you?
think it is that. He's just so fan friendly, so front footed. You know what he's going to get. You're going to get from him, but in a good way, because you like it.
Yeah, he'll never be in a boring fight, Zepeda, will he?
No,
it's just his style. He just adds to the fire, and brilliant.
It's like how you know with SHAKUR Stevenson what you're going to get. You know that's not necessarily a good thing, because you know it's probably not going to be the most exciting fight in the world, but you know what you're going to get going into it. With Zepeda, it's the same. You know what you're going to get going into it, and you know it's going to be fireworks.
But do you reckon if Zepeda and Stevenson did fight, do you reckon we'll see a different SHAKUR Stevenson in the ring? Because he'd probably have to be, because he's going to have a lot more pressure on him throughout the 12 rounds.
I think he would try and win it the SHAKUR Stevenson way, because I think...
The boring way.
I think the problem with... Well, yeah. Not one I'm going to be staying up for. And if I do, it's not one I'm going to stay awake throughout. But I think SHAKUR has the ability and the timing and the footwork, because Zepeda's chin is quite open. He's always open for an uppercut. And I think he'd take the shots. I don't think there's an issue with that. But I do think that SHAKUR would be confident that he could move around the ring for 12 rounds and just pick off gaps in between. But you can't help but think, if Zepeda just keeps coming at a rate that few, if any, fighters keep coming at, if anyone could do it, maybe.
If anyone can do it, it is Zepeda, though, ain't it?
Maybe
Or
Tank Davis, because he's got the power that he only needs that one.
But like we said, he's got problems at the moment, hasn't he? With
he's
Roach?
got a big problem with a super featherweight. So,
But the lightweight division is like so many divisions in boxing at the moment. They're so stacked.
Yeah,
there's
big
so
time.
much depth in them, and there's so many good fights to still be made. And it's great to see. And it's a bit like what we were just discussing then with Sam Noakes and Farmer. Farmer lost on Saturday night. It doesn't mean he's not ever going to step in the ring again and be in another competitive fight. He can come back against someone of the likes of Sam Noakes. He's in the top 10 in the lightweight division. Fight him, and again, your career's back up and running again.
Yeah, if you beat him, then you kind of go, I know this guy is still about. He is still
Exactly.
And you know what? I've all loved him, because I think he was a brilliant fight across the two fights, and showed he was so tough. I think it was the fourth and the fifth. He took an absolute battering at the end of the rounds, and I think his corner was shouting him like, "Take a knee, take a knee, take a knee," and he just rode out the wave. Fair play. I think he did all of it with an injury as well.
Yeah, sewing up with his arm or something, wasn't it? Yeah.
So big respect to that. Moving on from it, Mikaela Mayer, Sandy Ryan. I've got the names the right way around this time.
Well
I've been
done.
practicing it in the mirror all last night. Mikaela Mayer, the
Daniel
first name.
Dubois.
Yeah, practicing in the mirror. Mayer was too good, wasn't she?
Yeah, a lot more
convincing,
one-sided this time around. I thought Sandy Ryan started strongly, but in those middle rounds she just went off it, and yeah, Mayer just took complete control over it and just showed why the last fight that they had, it wasn't a robbery, it wasn't a steal. She clearly won that, and she obviously clearly won this one, 98, 92, and two judges' scorecards reading 97, 93. It was a great performance by her, and it makes you wonder now where does she go next? It's quite funny. Lauren Price was straight on Sky Sports News on Sunday morning celebrating, Mother's Day and all, and she's there, and my mum's like, oh, I don't know that, and I'm like, yeah, that's Lauren Price. She's going to beat Mikaela Mayer, but I think Mayer is the only one in that division that can cause Lauren Price problems.
I think so, and I think Mayer's range and hand speed as a combination.
That's what won her the fight on Saturday
will
night,
always be a problem, because and it's Lauren Price's hand speed that comfortably beat Tasha Jonas, but Mikaela Mayer's got such a great mix of she can fight long because she's tall, but she can also fight inside because she's quick. Mm-hmm. And I thought Sandy Ryan had the most success in that fight, probably more so than she ever did in the first fight, when she was able to make Mayer miss and then make her pay up points. But she wasn't able to do it for the whole. And then when she was dragged into an inside fight, that hand speed comes into it.
Yeah.
And like you say, I think Lauren will be quicker than Mayer, or is quicker than Mayer. Is more skillful than Mayer, but Mayer is probably bigger than Lauren. I don't know. I haven't seen them side by side, but she certainly looks like quite a big fighter. And they both seem a cut above the last two they've beaten. And so it's the perfect test, isn't it? I
think, like you said, the cut above the last two people they've beaten. The last two people that they've beaten could have easily been the fighters now we're talking about going head to head later in the summer. But it should be Mayer Price now, hopefully in the UK, because I think, imagine that in Cardiff, not even in the Utilita Arena, you can put it in the Cardiff City Stadium, in the Cardiff Arms Park. Her against Mayer here in Wales would be one of the biggest fights we've had in a long, long time in Wales. And
absolutely. Yeah, you can't have one belt and go to the one with three and the Ring Magazine belt and go, nah, you need to come to no, absolutely not. She's
A-side. Exactly.
She is A-side. I think the thing with Mayer is she's managed to manufacture herself quite a big brand for a female fighter, which is impressive and great to see. And she's done so off her own back to many degrees. But yeah, you can't claim the A side when somebody is at a stronger point than you.
Well, whoever's got the most belts is A side, I think.
But ultimately, I don't care. I think
as long as they get it,
as long as it happens,
exactly.
It will be a good fight to happen. I really do think that. And you know what? Another great female boxing fight. And we've been. I know there's some people that don't necessarily enjoy female boxing. I still can't get my head around that because you watch these fights. I think there's a lot of good fights to come soon. Obviously, we've got Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano 3, which is brilliant. And
on Netflix as well, by the way. So the global audience of that pulled in for that certain Paul Tyson fight got treated to an unbelievable, female fight of the year. And we get to see it again. And I go back to when you have a rematch, when it's 2-0, normally you don't see the trilogy. But because the first two fights were so good, you want to see it. And it's great that we're seeing it again. And is that in June 13th, is it? Sometime in June?
That sounds about right, yeah. But, God, I'm going to get a headache saying this. Fair play to Jake Paul, an MVP, for investing in female boxing in the way they are, signing some of the stars they are. Dina Thorsland, Alicia Baumgartner, Ramla Ali, they're investing in the female talent now. And, that is the kind of thing that could make a huge difference in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years' time when they are responsible, I think, for the two highest purses for females, probably back to back with Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. So,
Jake Paul's made it. I want to say, I could be wrong here, but I think Jake Paul's made Amanda Serrano a millionaire. So he is doing something right, and it's great to see the women again the opportunity that they deserve. Because, like you said, I sometimes think women's fights are a lot better to watch, more appealing to watch than men's fights, because
the 10-2s,
they can't have a feeling out process. They as soon as that first bell goes, they just have to get at it for the first 2 minutes, and Yeah, listen, it's great to see with female boxers getting this opportunity. Well done, MVP, but they're missing out on one female, aren't they?
They are.
They're missing out on our favourite female boxer in the whole wide world, and her name is
Elizabeth Ashoba.
Exactly.
Nigerian, won again on the weekend. She was ranked number 4 in the lightweight, I think it was, division, behind Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, Chantel Cameron. Mm-hmm. And no one knows who she is. It's crazy. Look it up. Do your research.
Watch out for her, because she's going to do some big things in
and
boxing.
Again, I didn't think I'd ever say this, but if Jake Paul wants to sign her, there'd be no complaints from me.
No. That'd probably be the best thing he's ever done for boxing. Yeah, and he's already done something good with all these contracts that he's given out to these females. But if he signs Elizabeth, well, oh my God, we have to go back on what we said about Jake Paul in the past. We might even have to delete that reel of me calling him a mug.
Never. And 300,000 views that come with it. Not a chance.
Thank you.
Not a chance. Yeah, someone tells me that the thank you Jake Paul reel isn't going to get quite so many views.
No.
People don't tend to get on board with that one, but never mind. Something I can get on board with, and I've said this a couple times now, is the next gen shows for Matchroom. I think there's been some pushback on them. People think, oh, it's just a load of prospects versus journeyman, etc., which isn't true necessarily. There's some good fights on there, but it's just an exciting time to see, and there's a real buzz around those kind of fight nights, because every fight people have an investment in, because it's like, oh, how good is Taylor Bevan? How good is Will Crolla? How good is Pat Brown? Those are the sorts of things. Whereas when you've got no offense to it, a Southern area title, great fight. It might be a really great fight, but there are people that don't have that kind of same buzz around it that they do these. And Pat Brown, he's got a lot of buzz around him. What did you make of the performance?
I thought it was great. I thought with the amount of pressure that was on him, I thought he came out and it's quite funny. His ring walk was probably one of the shortest ring walks I've seen. He nearly headbutted the camera walking into the ring, and yeah, a great performance. And you go back to a certain theorist of Hill 2025. He states that Argentinians never get stopped, and I thought we were on to something. You were on to something there, because his opponent on Friday night was tough as they come, and it's the sort of fight you want for a fighter. You don't want someone to make their making your professional debut, getting a first round stoppage, knocking your opponent out in easy fashion without breaking a sweat, causes a lot of hype talk. But when you go 4 rounds, and for me, just back and forth, you learn a lot more about yourself, and you find out more about the fighter that you're investing in as well. And yeah, I'm very excited for Pat Brown, and I'm seeing comparisons with him and Ricky Hatton on the basis of the fan base. When have we ever seen someone make their professional debut? All right, it was at Ice Planet in Ultranum or whatever it's called, but when have we seen someone make their professional debut live on the Zone in front of, I want to say, a couple thousand people maybe in that arena? And that much investment they've put into him, and to put that performance on against someone that's been there, done it, and is an Argentinian, tough. There's something special there, and I think the most important thing for Pat Brown now is to keep active. I think get him out 3 more times this year, 4 more times at a push. Next year, get him to 6-0, 7-0 maybe, and then he can start looking for titles. But he needs to do his learning. I'm on the hype train. I think you are as well. But after that performance, I'm excited to see what's next. And the future looks bright for Pat Brown. And Manchester boxing as well. William Crolla on the card as well.
Yeah.
In a tough fight. But let's main it around Pat Brown. Great performance. And I'm excited to see what's next as well.
Yeah, I think there is a lot to be excited for. Obviously, cruiserweight, heavy hitting comes as a sort of default, but he's got heavy hands, you can tell. He worked the body well, I thought, as well. It wasn't just a sort of headhunt. He'd worked the body almost. That was, I think, probably what was the undoing of the tough opponent, was the fact that he had invested in the body and he had really slowed him down. And like you say, the fact that there was stuff coming the other way and he was being caught with stuff, and sort of a wake-up call that you can't just go in there and swing. Going forward is going to be, it's going to be interesting to see what they can make of him. And like you say, huge amount of investment in him. I mean, I can't remember the last Matchroom prospect they signed that they kind of put this much stock into this early. I hope for their sake and for our sake it pays off.
I can't name one.
No,
I can't
don't.
even think of one off the top of my head. I'm sure someone in the comments will let us know. But no, it's a great performance. And like you said, that next gen card was really good. And for a Friday night entertainment, my team was getting absolutely battered up in Edinburgh, my Dragons team. And I just quickly switched on the boxing and I was a lot more happier.
Forgot about your problems.
Exactly. When Jordan Flynn and Cameron Vuong took to the ring, that was another incredible fight. And for them pair, it just shows... in boxing, you can have these sorts of back and forths quite early in your career and get away with it and sell a fight. You don't have to be at the top of the divisions of the heavyweights of the cruiserweight.
It doesn't have to be a world title
exactly.
to be
you can go back and forth.
Fight.
And for both of them to go in that ring and put their O on the line, you've got to take your hats off to both of them. Jordan Flynn obviously didn't get the victory, but he can come again. You know, after the back and forths that we had throughout the build, at 3 times you've had that. Finally, they stepped in the ring and got it on. And Cameron Vuong was very impressive, but like I keep on saying, I don't want to build him up too much because there's something that happened earlier in the year where it stained his career, or even last year with Gavin Gwynn. You know, you need to get that off your back now and fight him sooner rather than later, and then just prove to everyone that wasn't lucky. That wasn't because I'm an up and coming fighter that I got the win that night. Put that to bed by fighting Gavin Gwynn next, and he showed that he's a level above Jordan Flynn now. He's that level where he's knocking on the door of British level, because I want to say this was a European, so his first title.
It was a WBO European, yeah.
So a British title fight could be on the horizon for him, but he can't just put aside that Gavin Gwynn fight, I'm afraid, and I want to see that run back as soon as possible as well.
Yeah, I think so, and I think to be honest, when you look at it, when Gavin Gwynn, when he's come through the Gavin Gwynn fight, and like everyone sort of says and knows he probably lost that fight, but the amount he'll have learned from that and the amount he'll have improved from that means that going into this Jordan Flynn fight, he was a better fighter than he was before that. And then going into a rematch, if it does hopefully get made, he's going to be an even better fighter, and it may well be a very different outcome in that fight. And you sort of say, do you know what? In the balance of things for Cameron Vuong, certainly that's a net positive situation. A young prospect has gotten better over the course of a few fights. The disappointment comes that there should be a 1 on his record rather than an 0, and actually that doesn't taint him any as a fighter. It doesn't make the journey any different. It just makes the right man won, really, which is the frustration in that one. But that'll never be. And like you say, it was impressive from Vuong. It was a good performance against Jordan Flynn. A sort of coming of age performance, a sort of proving the doubters wrong kind of thing.
It's like sticking 2 fingers up to everyone. Like, he's probably thinking, bring on Gavin Gwynn now, because he's going to be so much more. He's got the confidence he's probably going to have now is going to be unbelievable. And yeah, like I said, if he can get that Gavin Gwynn rematch, I think that could, I wouldn't say main event somewhere, but that can easily make a big show, and he deserves it, because I think for Gav, we all know he didn't win. He didn't lose that fight. It's not Cameron Vuong's fault as well. I think that's what a lot of people talk about. It's not his fault. He didn't pay the judges to give him the win. Eddie Hearn didn't pay the judges to give him the win. It's what the judges see in the ring, and sometimes that's what I don't like about boxing. It's all opinionated and all that, but that's the sport, ain't it? And you got to live with it.
It's frustrating, mine. Like,
it is.
It's one of those things that kind of non-boxing fans throw in your face, and you don't really have an answer to. They're like, oh, but what about all of this, and that? And I'm going, yeah, it's really stupid, isn't it? Like, it is just irritating, and maybe. I was going to say maybe it'll change. It won't change. No. Not a chance will it change. But I think it's just one of those things you got to live with and accept that it happens and move on and forget about until it happens to someone you like, and then you like into keyboard warrior in the comment section about it, and then you move on.
Think we were all keyboard warriors that night when we were on Twitter.
Big time.
Even I commented on it, which is quite funny. But no, it's a decent performance by Cameron Vuong, and he just showed that he can put that Jordan Flynn sort of saga to bed now. We were meant to see it, twice last year they were building up to it, and finally we got it on this year. So, we've put that to bed now, and he can move on and hopefully fight Gav next.
Absolutely. And then, sort of on the flip side to that, you got a fighter who's maybe low on confidence, fighter confident this one. The other way around, Will Crolla would have been sky high on confidence going into this fight because of what's happened before. And I think this one would have been a really great leveling learning experience for him in, like you say, a tough, close fight. But he got the win. He did what he had to do. And
that's what you like to see now. And I think this is what Eddie Hearn's doing quite well with his prospects. He's testing them. He's not giving them easy fights. You know, he's the first fight on the main broadcast. You know, you can't just let him have an easy fight where his opponent's just going in there for the payday. You can't have that as your first fight on DAZN.
There's no point. If you don't, I'm not saying feed him to the lions and give him to some sort of quality operator really early on and go, oh, well, you're not ready for a world title fight now, so you'll never be. But there is a certain degree of, if you're not beating fighters like this at that stage of your career, then you're probably not good enough to be a matchroom prospect, unfortunately. But fortunately for Will Crolla, he is good enough.
And fortunately for us, we got to see a lot more of him as well. It wasn't just a quick stoppage or, working him out inside 2 or 3 rounds. We got to see a full 6-round war.
We probably saw more minutes-wise in this one than we see in most of his fights combined. I wouldn't be
in his
surprised.
entire fighting career so far.
I haven't done the maths, but it wouldn't be a million miles off with the early stoppages he's got.
But like you said, the amount of stuff now that he would have learned from that fight can only benefit him in the future. You know, if he had a fight where, for instance, Taylor Bevan, his opponent was tough, but again, what a shot that was, an unbelievable uppercut. But would he have learned something from that fight, apart from he got incredible power?
I was going to say how good he is, that's about it.
But on the flip side, for William Crolla, he's learned a lot. And that 18 minutes that he had in that ring, I want to say it was a 6-round if I remember, he can take a lot from that and he can move on now and he can... I wouldn't say he'll be out straight away. He's probably going to be out in June time now on that, apparently that massive Birmingham card that they're planning with Pat Brown on there as well. But yeah, it was a great performance all round from William Crolla, from Taylor Bevan, from all these prospects coming through that we can all start getting excited for. And it just shows that British boxing's going nowhere. We've got so many more superstars coming through that can carry British boxing forward, can carry British boxing onto that global stage once all the big names, retiring, and there's more narratives coming out, more stories to be made, and yeah, it's good to see.
Yeah, and we can put on our Welsh bias hats for a second and talk about Taylor Bevan because I feel shamelessly because
future world champion.
Is that what you're saying?
No.
Clip it up. No. He is quality though.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. What a shot! I remember I just got home because he was quite early, wasn't he?
He was,
about 6 o'clock. I just got home, and I thought, you know what? It's been a long week, long Friday. Get in the fridge, get a can. And I missed it.
A can of water?
A can of water will go for, yes. Other drinks are available, and I definitely did take the other drinks. And I missed it. You hear Darren Barker and Sonny Edwards, oh my. And I quickly rewinded it. Wow. Unbelievable shot. And to think it was well timed, I thought. You know, he was looking for it. But when he connected, you were like, Jesus Christ, this guy's got something. And I'm very excited. The one thing I wouldn't mind seeing for Taylor Bevan is him fighting in Wales. Yeah. I would love nothing more to see Taylor Bevan, and I know it's probably a little bit too early to say, you can chuck him in the Utilita Arena and sell that out. But if there's a card in Wales that they can build with, like, for example, Joe Cordina's on it, why not get Taylor Bevan on it? You know, he's a big star. I'm sure he's a big ticket seller for his Welsh-based fans, and it's something that we can look forward to then as well as a podcast. We might be able to sit down with him and have a conversation and have a chat with him because he's got a very interesting story, hasn't he? From the amateurs and into the pros. And yeah, there's something about this card where you get excited for the future of British boxing and the prospects we've got coming through on that card. And these next gen shows show off to us is very good. And yeah, I'm excited to see what's sort of next for Taylor Bevan, because I think this year now for him is all about becoming active continuously, fighting every other month or something. And then next year is the sort of time where you go, right, we're going to put you in against someone now. Let's see how good you really are. And I look forward to that day as well. Yeah, absolutely. And albeit that pretty much wraps up what has been a pretty great weekend of boxing in terms of the volume of quality fights and quality fighters. One last thank you from me to a scary Moldovan man, Constantin Ursu. I had a train to catch back from London from the top tier show. I'm thinking, shit, I'm going to miss my train. How am I going to do this? And then just an absolute peach of a left hand has saved me the hassle of sleeping with Ben for the night, which, I wish on no man. I wish on no man.
So what a performance from Constantin. Wow.
Yeah. I can understand why you boys are so big on him and why top tier so big. What a shot.
Yeah,
came from nowhere as well. I thought I was almost going to put in the group chat James is growing into this fight. James is getting a bit more confident, and then bang, out of nowhere,
I think that was the problem.
Sam Hill shouts from the ringside, "I need a trainer catch," and Constantin Ursu listens and knocks him out. Unbelievable shot, and yeah, great. Unbelievable. And Top Tier are doing a great job, I think. You know, these Sunday shows with people that, you know, we didn't have enough boxing on the weekend. You know, we had Friday night, Saturday night. We needed more boxing.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, it was great to come back from a Sunday lunch and put that on, and to be treated to that sort of performance and stoppage. Yeah, it was a decent Sunday afternoon / evening.
But not just that. They kitted out the York Hall the best I've seen it.
Okay.
The way they had it together with the big LED screen, the big walkout, everything like this. You know, this is the spiritual home of British boxing, and to put it politely, it's a shithole. It's not a nice venue in the sense of it's not high end, it's not lovely, but it is the spiritual home of British boxing. You can't get past that, and it's a brilliant place to watch boxing, and they made it look great. They did a great job of it, and it's so impressive what they do every single time. We say it every single time, and I'm going to refrain from using that two rhyming words that people describe for Top Tier, that Johnny hates when people use.
They're not anymore.
They're not that.
No, they're not anymore. If you're on DAZN, I don't think you are those two names.
And albeit it's got Hall in it, the York Hall is a small hall. Without actually using them together, but it's not a small hall boxing venue.
It's not, and it's a sort of boxing venue. If you are a professional boxer, you want to fight at the York Hall, or everyone's fought at the York Hall. You know, all the big names have been there, and I think it's a sort of venue where you go. If I was a boxer and I wanted to tick off venues, like ticking off a football ground or a rugby ground, that's the sort of place I want to go and watch boxing, and hopefully I can in May, because I believe there's a big show happening in May where Ursu's going to be on defending his belt. And B, if I was a fighter, I would love nothing more to fight in the York Hall, because on TV, I've never been there personally, but they seem on top of you. From the people that stand up in the balcony area, they seem right on top of you. You can literally just look over like that and be on top of the ring, and I think that would make for very good viewing. And sometimes the atmosphere in there is better than some atmospheres you get in arenas. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When you got 30 odd Moldovan men up on that balcony looking down, it's quite a view. So, you know, huge respect. If you don't know who Constantin Ursu is, search up his last fight or any of his fights. The man's got lightning in his hands.
Even search up our interview that you did with him. Scary man.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to. You wouldn't want to cross.
Don't ask him the wrong question, do you?
No. Though to be fair, I thought I was talking about this with the media. I've got a theory. He gives a good interview, then a bad interview. He just does it one by one, and I got lucky with that one. I think that's a good Constantin interview. So check it out below. But I think,
well, you're forgetting about something as well. What's today?
The first day
of April, correct?
That Queensbury are on DAZN.
No. This guy got pranked before filming this podcast.
I did.
Incredible. You know, I thought I didn't get it. My train got delayed into Cardiff this morning.
Yep.
And I thought, right, how can I say that I'm running late without saying I'm running late? So I said, sorry, Sam, I've cancelled on you today. I can't come in. You got to do the podcast by yourself, along the lines of that. And the way he was messaging me back, I thought, you know what? I think he realises that it's April Fool's Day. And then all of a sudden I walk into the studio, and where I'm sat, there was one of these cameras was right where I was sat. And he was getting ready to do the entire podcast. How long have we filmed for now?
35 minutes.
35 minutes just talking to himself with a camera.
I mean, do you know what? In my defence, if we weren't doing a podcast this morning, I'd be sat at home alone talking to myself. So it's a natural progression.
Same. Yeah.
No, but
it's poor though from Ben though. I thought that was an April Fool's joke, but he's obviously not with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard there's a good all-you-can-eat buffet in Merthyr. That's why he's not here.
That's one.
That's allegedly why he's not here. But
can we go for a 2? Can we get a hat trick in quickly?
No, we'll let him off.
Right.
We'll let him off.
We'll wait until Thursday and
absolutely. But no, I think I'm normally so cynical, and I don't know why. I think it's just because I'm tired from the weekend. I was ready. I was literally in my head. I was like, literally. Do you know what I was in my head? I was like, what does Adi Oladipo do?
Yeah.
I was like, what does he do? How does he do it on his own? And that's what I was thinking. I was going to channel my inner Adi Oladipo. And
you would have had your own green room or something.
so I'm really sorry, guys, that you didn't get to witness what would have been an
Apologies,
all-timer
yeah,
episode.
apologies.
Unfortunately, you've had to listen to Harry's opinion this week as well.
I am very sorry about
The
that.
TikTok comments are buzzing, though. That it means that there's someone they can channel all their inner hatred
Keep it
towards.
coming. Keep it coming.
And on that note, if you do want to get some more Puncher's Chance content, if you don't get enough of us on YouTube or Spotify, we are on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. If you have some sort of inbuilt hate towards yourself, then you can channel it towards Harry in the comment section, as everyone else does. It's the done thing on there, it seems. So we'd love to see you on the comment section doing just that.
And there's me thinking it was only Sam's burner phone, so it's actually real people.
I've heard rumours it is actually real people. Yeah, if you want to compare me to Archie Gray, anything like that, then it seems TikTok's the place to do it. So please do. And otherwise, thank you all for tuning in to another episode. Later on in the week, we'll be back as usual for a preview show. Big Joe Joyce versus Hrgovic. In I forget where that is actually.
Manchester, heavy
in
impact.
Manchester.
Great
Wow.
card.
It is
and then
a good card.
a fight to look out for and look forward to on Saturday night. Vianello against Torres Jr. Great fight.
Absolutely. If that all sounds interesting, then subscribe so that you get it in your notifications when it comes out. You'll be the first one to it, and then you can leave a nice hate comment as soon as it drops. So thank you all.
To Ben.
To Ben,
Yeah,
of course.
to Ben.
Yes, not to us.
Yeah.
Thank you all for tuning in as usual, and we'll catch you all later in the week.
Puncher's Chance. Puncher's Chance podcast.